Kang Do-yun had never been so nervous in his entire life. He stood in the dressing room of the Galactic Unity Station, looking at himself in the mirror. The ceremonial robe was too long, the golden threads were too bright, and his hands would not stop shaking. "Stop moving," said Captain Unipark. She was fixing his collar with quick, strong fingers. "You look fine." "I look like a scared child pretending to be an adult," Do-yun said. Yuna smiled a little. "That is what all diplomats look like. You will fit right in." Today was the most important day in human history. The Mirathi Empire had finally agreed to meet with Earth's representatives. The Mirathi were one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They controlled over 200 star systems. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of humanity. And they had never shown interest in the small blue planet called Earth. Until now. Do-hyun was only a junior ambassador. He had been working at the station for just 2 years. He was not supposed to be part of this meeting at all. But 3 senior diplomats had gotten sick from bad food last night, and now Do-yun was the replacement. "Remember the rules," Yuna said as they walked toward the Great Hall. "Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not make direct eye contact with the royal family. Do not touch anyone for any reason. The Mirathi consider physical contact to be extremely offensive." "I know," Do-yun said. "I studied the briefing files all night." "Good. Then you also know that the Mirathi do not feel emotions the way we do. They see feelings as primitive and weak. So keep your face calm and your voice steady." Do-yun nodded. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. The Great Hall was enormous. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species filled the room, all standing in perfect rows. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat the Mirathi delegation. Do-yun had seen pictures of Mirathi before, but seeing them in person was different. Their skin was silver, smooth like polished metal. Their eyes were large and violet, with no visible pupils. They sat perfectly still, like beautiful statues carved from moonlight. In the center of the Mirathi group sat a young female. She wore a crown of floating crystals that circled her head slowly. Her silver hair fell past her shoulders like liquid mercury. She was Princess Valina, the only heir to the Mirathi Empire. She was the most beautiful being Do-hyun had ever seen. "Eyes down!" Yuna whispered sharply. Do-hyun quickly looked at the floor. His face felt hot. He hoped no one had noticed him staring. The ceremony began. It was long and complicated. Representatives from each species had to walk forward, bow in a specific way, and recite words of greeting. Do-hyun stood at the back of the human group, trying to remember everything he had learned. When it was humanity's turn, Do-hyun followed the other ambassadors toward the platform. His robe dragged on the ground. He should have asked someone to make it shorter, but it was too late now. They stopped before the Mirathi delegation. The head ambassador, an elderly woman named Director Kang, began speaking the formal greeting. Do-hyun just had to stand still and look respectful. That was when everything went wrong. A small cleaning robot rolled across the floor right in front of Do-hyun's feet. He did not see it because he was looking down. His foot caught on the robot. He stumbled forward. His long robe tangled around his legs, and before he could stop himself, he was falling. Do-hyun reached out to grab something, anything. His hand caught the edge of the platform. He pulled himself up, but his momentum carried him forward, and suddenly he was face to face with Princess Valina. No, not face to face cheek. His lips pressed against her silver skin for just 1 second. Then he pulled back in horror. The entire hall went completely silent. Do-hyun felt like the floor had disappeared beneath him. He had just kissed the alien princess. He had just kissed the most important person in the most powerful empire in the galaxy. He had broken every rule, violated every protocol, and probably started an interstellar war. The Marathi guards drew their weapons. Long silver blades that hummed with energy appeared in their hands. They pointed them at Do-hyun. "Wait!" Director Kang shouted. "It was an accident! Please, he did not mean to—" "Silence," said one of the Marathi advisors, an elderly male with cold eyes. "The human has touched the royal air. The punishment for this crime is death." Do-hyun could not move. He could not speak. He could only stare at Princess Valina, waiting for her to condemn him. But the princess was not looking at the guards or the advisors. She was touching her cheek. Her violet eyes were wide, wider than before. Her silver fingers pressed against the spot where his lips had been. "What was that?" she asked. Her voice was soft, like wind through crystal chimes. No one answered. No one understood the question. "That sensation," Valina continued. She was still touching her cheek. "I felt something warm, something—" She paused, searching for a word. "Something alive." The elderly advisor stepped forward. "Your Highness, this human has committed a grave offense. We must—" "Be quiet, Corin." The advisor stopped speaking immediately. Princess Valina stood up from her throne. She was tall, taller than Do-hyun. She walked down the steps until she was standing right in front of him. Her violet eyes looked into his brown ones. Do-hyun forgot all the rules. He forgot he was not supposed to make eye contact. He could not look away. "Human," Valina said, "what did you do to me?" Do-hyun's mouth was dry. I kissed you, Your Highness. It was an accident. On my planet, it is a way of showing affection, care. I am so sorry, I did not mean to—" "Affection," Valina repeated the word like she had never heard it before. "Care." She tilted her head, studying him like he was a strange, new creature. "Do it once more." The hall erupted in chaos. Marathi advisors shouted in protest. Human diplomats looked at each other in confusion. Guards did not know whether to attack or stand down, but Do-hyun heard none of it. He only heard the princess's words echoing in his mind. "Do it once more." He stood there, frozen, as the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. And somewhere deep inside him, beneath all the fear and confusion, a small voice whispered that his life would never be the same again. The hours after the incident were the longest of Do-hyun's life. He sat in a small room with white walls and no windows. Two Marathi guards stood at the door, their silver faces showing no expression. No one had spoken to him. No one had told him what would happen next. He thought about his family back on Earth, his mother, who had cried when he left for the space station, his younger sister, who had made him promise to bring back alien souvenirs. Would he ever see them again? The door opened. Captain Yuna walked in, followed by Director Kang. Their faces were serious but not hopeless. "What is happening?" Do-hyun asked immediately. Yuna sat down across from him. "The Marathi Council has been arguing for 6 hours. Half of them want to execute you. The other half want to start a war with Earth." Do-hyun felt sick. "And the princess?" "She has not said anything since the ceremony. She locked herself in her chambers." Yuna paused. "But 10 minutes ago, she sent a message to the council. She invoked something called the Law of Soul Gifts." "What does that mean?" Director Kang spoke for the first time. "It is an ancient Marathi law. Very old, from before their empire existed. It says that if someone gives the royal family a gift of the soul, the royal can pardon any crime that person has committed." "A gift of the soul?" Do-hyun repeated. "I did not give her anything. I just fell on her." "The princess claims that what you gave her was a gift," Yuna said. "That sensation she felt. She called it a gift of warmth." Do-hyun did not understand. It was just a kiss. A small, accidental touch of lips to skin. How could that be a gift? Before he could ask more questions, the door opened again. A Mirathi female in formal robes entered. Her silver skin was darker than the princess's, and her eyes were a deeper shade of purple. "The human called Do-hyun will come with me," she said. "The princess wishes to speak with him privately." Yuna stood up quickly. "I should go with him. As his superior officer." The princess requested only the human. No others. Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She looked worried, but she nodded. "Be careful, and be respectful." He followed the Mirathi female through long hallways made of crystal and light. Everything in the Mirathi section of the station was beautiful but cold. There were no decorations, no colors, no signs of personality. It felt like walking through an empty museum. They stopped before tall silver doors. The female pressed her hand against a panel, and the doors slid open. "Enter," she said, "and remember, human, that your life depends on the princess's continued favor." Do-hyun stepped inside. The doors closed behind him. The princess's chambers were larger than his entire apartment block back on Earth. Soft light came from glowing panels in the walls. In the center of the room, Princess Valina stood by a window that showed the stars outside. She turned when she heard him enter. Her crystal crown was gone. Her silver hair was loose around her shoulders. She looked younger without the formal decorations, almost vulnerable. "You came," she said. Do-hyun bowed deeply. "Your Highness, I want to apologize again for what happened. I never meant to—" "Stop." Valina held up her hand. "I did not bring you here for apologies. I brought you here for answers." She walked toward him slowly. Her violet eyes studied his face like she was trying to read a book in a foreign language. "I have lived for 147 years, she said. "In all that time, I have never felt what I felt when your lips touched my skin. It was like fire, but it did not burn. Like electricity, but it did not hurt. What was it?" Do-hyun thought carefully before answering. "Humans call it warmth, Your Highness. It is the feeling we get when someone cares about us. When someone shows us affection." "Affection." Valina said the word again, tasting it. "My people do not have this word in our language. We do not have this warmth." "Never?" "Never." She turned away and walked back to the window. "The Mirathi evolved on a cold world, human. Our bodies are designed to survive, not to feel. Emotions are weaknesses that our ancestors eliminated long ago. We do not love. We do not hate. We do not feel joy or sorrow." "That sounds very lonely," Do-hyun said softly. Valina was quiet for a moment. "We did not know what we were missing. How can you miss something you have never had?" She touched the window with her silver fingers. "But now I have felt it. Just for 1 second, and I want to understand." She turned back to face him. "I have pardoned your crime, human, but I have also made a request to your leaders. I want you to stay here, at the station, as my personal consultant." Do-hyun's eyes went wide. "Your consultant? For what?" "To teach me." Valina walked toward him again, stopping just an arm's length away. "To teach me about human emotions, about warmth, about whatever that kiss was." "Your Highness, I am not qualified to—" "You are human. That is the only qualification I need." Her violet eyes were intense, almost hungry. "My people are dying, human. Not from disease or war, but from something worse. We call it the silence, an emptiness that spreads through our souls until we simply stop. We stop eating, we stop working, we stop living, and no one knows why." Do-hyun felt a chill run through him. "How many have died?" "Millions, in the last century alone." Valina's voice was steady, but he could hear something underneath. Something that might have been pain, if she knew what pain felt like. "Our scientists cannot find a cause. Our doctors cannot find a cure. But when you kissed me, I felt something I have never felt before. Something alive, something that was the opposite of the silence. She reached out and touched his hand. Her silver fingers were cool against his warm skin. I believe humans may hold the answer, she said. Your emotions, your warmth, your ability to feel. I believe these things might save my people. But your council, Do-hyun said. They wanted to kill me. They will never accept. My council is afraid. They have ruled through coldness and logic for so long that they cannot imagine any other way. But I am the princess. One day, I will be the empress. And I will not watch my people disappear into the silence without trying everything possible to save them. She squeezed his hand gently. He could see her struggling to understand the gesture, trying to copy something she had never learned. Will you help me, human? Will you teach me how to feel? Do-hyun looked at this alien princess, this silver being from a dying civilization. She was powerful enough to destroy his entire planet. But right now, standing in front of him, she looked like someone who had been lost in the dark for her whole life and had just seen a tiny flicker of light. He thought about running away. He thought about saying no. But then he thought about millions of beings losing the will to live, disappearing into silence one by one. Yes, he said. I will help you. For the first time, something changed in Valina's face. It was small, just a tiny softening around her eyes, but it was there. Thank you, she said, and then very quietly. What is your name, human? Your full name? Kang Do-hyun. Do-hyun. She said it slowly, learning the shape of it. Then let us begin. Do-hyun. Teach me how to be warm. The lessons began the next day. Do-hyun arrived at the princess's chambers at exactly 9 in the morning, carrying nothing but a notebook and his nervous heart. Valina was waiting for him. She had set up a small table with 2 chairs facing each other. On the table was a recording device. Behind her stood 2 Marathi guards, watching Do-hyun with cold, violet eyes. I will record everything, Valina explained. For scientific study, my people must understand that this is research, not entertainment. Do-hyun nodded. He sat down across from her and tried to think of where to start. How do you teach someone to feel? It was like teaching someone to breathe or to see. Emotions were just there. They happened without thinking. Let us start with something simple, he said. A handshake. What is a handshake? Do-hyun extended his right hand across the table, palm facing sideways. You take my hand with your hand, like this. Valina looked at his hand like it might bite her. Then, slowly, she reached out and wrapped her silver fingers around his. Now we shake gently, Do-hyun said. He moved their hands up and down once. This is how humans greet each other. It is a sign of respect and friendship. Friendship, Valina repeated. Her hand was still holding his. What does it feel like? To have a friend? Do-hyun thought about his friends back home. His college roommate who always made him laugh. His neighbor who brought him soup when he was sick. It feels like you are not alone. Like someone will stand beside you no matter what happens. Valina's violet eyes seemed to grow deeper. I do not have friends. I have advisors and servants and guards, but I do not think any of them would stand beside me if I fell. Then I will be your first friend, Do-hyun said without thinking. He regretted the words immediately. It was too bold, too forward. But Valina did not look offended. She looked curious. Friends shake hands? She asked. Yes, and they also do this. Do-hyun stood up and walked around the table. Stand up, please. Valina stood. She was taller than him by several inches, but somehow she did not seem intimidating anymore. This is called a hug, Do-hyun said. He opened his arms and wrapped them around her shoulders, pulling her gently toward him. Valina went stiff like a statue. Her arms stayed at her sides. Do-hyun could feel her entire body trembling. "It is okay," he said softly. "A hug is a way of saying that you care about someone, that you are happy they exist. You do not have to do anything. Just let yourself feel." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, very slowly, Valina's arms came up. They wrapped around Do-hyun's back, copying his position. Her silver head rested on his shoulder. "It is warm," she whispered. "Like before, but more. So much more." They stood like that for 30 seconds. Then a minute. The guards shifted uncomfortably, but they did not interfere. When Do-hyun finally stepped back, he saw something that made his heart stop. A single drop of clear liquid was rolling down Valina's silver cheek. "Your Highness," he said, "you are crying." Valina touched her face. She looked at the wetness on her fingers with complete confusion. "What is this? Am I damaged? Is something wrong with my eyes?" "No, no." Do-hyun smiled gently. "Tears are not damage. They are a way of releasing strong emotions. Humans cry when we are very sad, or very happy, or when we feel something so big that our bodies cannot contain it." "I am not sad," Valina said. She was still staring at her wet fingers. "I am not happy. I do not know what I am, but it is overwhelming, like a flood inside me." Behind them, Do-hyun heard a sharp intake of breath. He turned and saw a tall Marathi male standing in the doorway. It was Advisor Korin, the elderly one who had demanded Do-hyun's execution at the ceremony. Korin's violet eyes were fixed on the princess's tear-stained face. His expression was unreadable, but his hands were clenched into fists. "Your Highness," Korin said stiffly, "your father wishes to speak with you." Valina quickly wiped her face. "Tell him I am busy with my research." "I am afraid the Emperor insists." Korin's eyes moved to Do-hyun. They were filled with something that might have been hatred. "He has heard reports about your activities with the human." After Korin left with the princess, Do-hyun was escorted back to the human section of the station. Yuna was waiting for him in the common area, along with a young security officer named Cho Ha-jin. Ha-jin was tall and muscular with sharp eyes and a quick smile. "So," Ha-jin said, grinning, "you are the famous human who kissed the alien princess. Everyone is talking about you." "It was an accident," Do-hyun said, for what felt like the 100th time. "An accident that might save us all." Yuna looked serious. "The Marathi Council has been watching your lessons through the recording device. They are not happy, but they are also curious. Some of the younger council members are asking questions about human emotions." "That is good, right?" Do-hyun asked. "Maybe. Or maybe it is dangerous." Yuna lowered her voice. "The Marathi have survived for thousands of years by being cold and logical. If they start feeling things, everything might change. Not everyone wants change." Do-hyun thought about Advisor Korin's clenched fists. "I think some of them definitely do not want change." That night, Do-hyun could not sleep. He lay in his small bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Valina. He remembered how she had trembled when he hugged her, how confused she had looked at her own tears. She was over 100 years old, and she was experiencing basic emotions for the first time. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And somewhere deep inside, Do-hyun knew he was starting to care about her. Not just as a diplomatic assignment or a scientific project, but as a person, as a friend, maybe as something more. His communicator beeped. A message from an unknown sender. "The human must stop. The princess belongs to the Empire, not to your primitive species. This is your only warning." Do-hyun read the message 3 times. Then he deleted it and tried to sleep. But he kept seeing Valina's face in his mind. The way she had said the word warm, like it was the most precious thing in the universe, the way her arms had wrapped around him, uncertain but wanting. Whatever happened, Do-hyun knew he could not stop now. Valina needed him. Her entire species needed something that only humans could give them. And maybe, just maybe, he needed her too. The summons came 3 days later. Do-yun was called to the Marathi throne room to face Emperor Thalos himself. The throne room was different from anything Do-yun had seen before. It was dark, lit only by floating spheres of cold blue light. The walls were made of black crystal that seemed to absorb all warmth. And at the far end, on a throne that looked like it was carved from a single piece of frozen starlight, sat the Emperor. Thalos was ancient. His silver skin had darkened to gray, and deep lines crossed his face like cracks in old ice. But his violet eyes were sharp and powerful. They fixed on Do-hyun the moment he entered the room. "So," the Emperor said. His voice was like stones grinding together. "This is the human who has been corrupting my daughter." Do-hyun bowed low. "Your Majesty, I have not corrupted anyone. I have only been teaching the princess about human customs." Customs. Thalos made the word sound like a disease. "I have watched the recordings. I have seen my daughter weeping. I have seen her embracing you like some kind of animal. These are not customs. These are infections." Velina stood beside the throne, her face carefully blank. She had warned Do-hyun that her father would be difficult, but she had not told him how terrifying the Emperor would be in person. "Father," Velina said softly, "the human has done nothing wrong. I asked him to teach me these things. The emotions he has shown me might be the answer to the silence." "The silence is a test of strength," Thalos snapped. "Only the weak fall to it. Our ancestors survived by cutting away their feelings like diseased limbs. And now you want to bring those feelings back? You want to make us weak again?" "With respect, Your Majesty," Do-yun said. "Emotions are not weakness. On Earth, we believe they are our greatest strength." The Emperor laughed. It was a cold, bitter sound. "Strength? You humans are barely out of your caves. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. Your bodies are fragile. What could you possibly know about strength?" "We know that strength is not just about power." Do-hyun stood straight, even though his knees wanted to shake. "It is about caring for each other. It is about fighting for what we love. It is about never giving up, even when everything seems hopeless." "Pretty words." Thalos leaned forward on his throne. "But words mean nothing without proof. So I will give you a chance to prove them, human." Do-yun felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of chance?" "There is a child in our medical center, a young girl named Seri. She has been suffering from the silence for 2 years. Our doctors have tried everything. Nothing works. She does not eat. She does not speak. She simply sits and waits to die." The Emperor's violet eyes burned into Do-yun's brown ones. "If your human emotions are so powerful, then heal her. Save this child with your warmth and your hugs and your precious feelings. If you succeed, I will allow you to continue your work with my daughter. I will even consider letting other Marathi learn from humans." "And if I fail?" Do-hyun asked, though he already knew the answer. "If you fail, you will be executed for wasting the Empire's time. And humanity will be banned from Marathi space forever. Your species will never contact us again." The room was silent. Do-hyun could feel everyone watching him. Velina's face was pale. She was shaking her head slightly, trying to tell him to refuse. But Do-hyun thought about the child, a little girl who had lost the will to live, a little girl who was waiting to die in an empty room because no one knew how to help her. Back on Earth, Do-yun had a niece. She was 7 years old. She had bright eyes and a loud laugh, and she called him Uncle Dodo because she could not say his name properly. He loved her more than anything in the world. What if it was her? What if his niece was alone and hopeless, and everyone had given up on her? "I accept," Do-yun said. Velina closed her eyes. The Emperor smiled coldly. "You have 1 week, human. The medical center will be open to you. Do whatever you wish. Try whatever methods your primitive species has developed." He waved his hand dismissively. "I expect to see you in this throne room again in 7 days, either as a miracle worker or as a corpse." After the audience, Valina caught Do-Yun in the hallway. Her violet eyes were full of something that looked like fear. "Why did you agree?" she demanded. "This is impossible. No one has ever recovered from the silence, not once in our entire history." "Then it is time for a first," Do-Yun said. "You will die. Do you understand that? My father is not bluffing. He will execute you in front of the entire court." Do-Hyun took her hand. She still flinched at the touch, but she did not pull away. "Valina, listen to me. That little girl is alone. She has probably never felt what you felt when I hugged you. She has probably never known that warmth exists. How can I walk away from her? How can I let her die without even trying? But your life is not more important than hers." Do-Yun squeezed her hand gently. "Where I come from, we have a saying. We say that a person's true character is shown by how they treat those who cannot help themselves. Children, the sick, the dying. If I abandon Siri to save myself, what kind of person am I?" Valina stared at him. Her violet eyes were shining with tears she was still learning to understand. "You are a fool," she said. "A complete and total fool." "Maybe." Do-Yun smiled. "But I am your fool now. Your first human friend. And friends do not abandon each other." He turned and walked toward the medical center, leaving the princess standing alone in the hallway. He did not know if he could save the child. He did not know if warmth and hugs and human emotions could break through whatever darkness was consuming her. But he knew he had to try, because that was what humans did. They tried. They hoped. They loved, even when loving might cost them everything, and sometimes, against all odds, they succeeded. The medical center was white and silent. Machines beeped softly. Marathi doctors moved like ghosts through the hallways, their silver faces showing no emotion. Do-Hyun walked past rows of beds, each one holding a Marathi patient staring at nothing. These were the victims of the silence. Young and old, male and female, all of them had the same empty look in their violet eyes, like the light inside them had been turned off. At the end of the hallway was a small private room. A Marathi nurse stood outside. "The child is inside," she said. "She has not moved in 3 days. She has not eaten in 5. We are keeping her alive with fluids, but she is getting weaker." The nurse's voice was flat, but something in her eyes looked almost sad. "The Emperor believes you will fail. We all do. But I hope we are wrong." Do-Yun nodded and entered the room. Sari was smaller than he expected. She sat on the edge of her bed, her tiny silver body perfectly still. Her eyes were open, but saw nothing. Her hands lay in her lap like dead flowers. She was 7 years old, the same age as his niece back on Earth. Do-Yun pulled up a chair and sat down facing her. He did not touch her. He did not speak. He just sat there, letting her get used to his presence. Behind the walls, he knew cameras were watching. The entire Marathi court was observing this moment, waiting for him to fail. After an hour of silence, Do-Yun began to talk. "Hello, Sari," he said softly. "My name is Do-Hyun. I am a human. Have you ever met a human before?" No response. The child did not move. "I come from a planet called Earth. It is very far away from here. We have blue skies and green trees and big oceans full of water. We have animals that bark and animals that purr and animals that sing beautiful songs in the morning." Still nothing. Do-Yun kept talking. He told her about his home in Korea, about the mountains covered in cherry blossoms in spring, about the spicy food his mother made and how it always made his eyes water, about his niece, who liked to ride on his shoulders and pretend she was flying. He talked for hours. His voice grew hoarse. The Mirathi doctors came and went, checking machines and shaking their heads. When night came, Do-hyun did not leave. He slept in the chair beside Sari's bed. The second day was the same. Do-hyun talked until he ran out of stories. Then he started singing, old Korean lullabies that his grandmother had taught him when he was small, songs about the moon and the stars and the dreams of sleeping children. His voice was not good. He knew that. But he sang anyway, pouring every bit of warmth he had into the simple melodies. Sari did not move, did not blink, did not acknowledge his existence in any way. The third day, something changed in Do-hyun. The hope that had been burning inside him began to flicker. He looked at this tiny, empty child and felt something heavy growing in his chest. He had promised to save her. He had risked everything, and he was failing. In the observation room, the Mirathi court watched with cold satisfaction. "The human is breaking," Advisor Koren noted. "Soon he will give up, and we can end this foolish experiment." But Do-hyun did not give up. Instead, he did something that surprised everyone. He started to cry. Not dramatic sobs or loud wails, just quiet tears rolling down his cheeks as he sat beside the child who was slipping away. "I am sorry, Sari," he whispered. "I am so sorry. I wanted to help you. I wanted to show you that life could be warm and beautiful. But I do not know how to reach you. I do not know how to break through whatever darkness is holding you." He wiped his eyes, but more tears came. "Where I come from, when we love someone who is hurting, we cry for them. We let our bodies feel their pain. It does not fix anything. It does not make the hurt go away, but it shows that we care, that they are not alone." His voice broke. "You are not alone, Sari. I know you cannot hear me. I know you are somewhere far away, somewhere I cannot follow. But I am here. I am sitting right beside you, and I care about you. I care about you so much it hurts." Do-hyun buried his face in his hands and wept. And then, something happened. A small, cool hand touched his cheek. Do-hyun looked up through his tears. Sari was reaching toward him. Her violet eyes, which had been empty for so long, were focused on his face, on the wetness streaming down his skin. "Why?" she said. Her voice was barely a whisper, rough from years of silence. "Why does water come from your eyes?" Do-hyun could barely breathe. "Because I care about you, Sari. Because when humans love someone, we feel what they feel, and feeling can be so big that it spills out of us." Sari tilted her head. Her small fingers traced the path of his tears. "Does it hurt?" "A little. But it is a good hurt. It means I am alive. It means I have not forgotten how to feel." The little girl was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Do-hyun's heart stop. "I want to feel that too." In the observation room, the Mirathi court had gone completely silent. Even Emperor Thalos was leaning forward on his throne, his ancient eyes fixed on the screen. Do-hyun opened his arms. "May I hug you, Sari? It is what humans do when we want to share our warmth with someone." Sari looked at his arms like they were something dangerous, something unknown. But then, slowly, she moved forward. She crawled off the bed and into Do-hyun's lap. Her small body was stiff at first, unsure how to be held. Do-hyun wrapped his arms around her gently. He held her like she was made of glass, and he let his warmth flow into her cold silver skin. "It is okay," he murmured. "You are safe. You are not alone. I have got you." For a long time, nothing happened. Then Do-hyun felt something wet against his shoulder. Sari was crying. Not the empty stare of the silence, not the hollow waiting for death. Real tears. The first tears a Mirathi child had cried in perhaps 1,000 years. "It hurts," she sobbed. "But it is good." "Why is it good?" "Because you are feeling again, Do-hyun said, his own tears mixing with hers. "Because you are coming back to life." He held her tighter, and she clung to him like he was the only solid thing in a universe that had been empty for far too long. In the observation room, Emperor Thalos sat back on his throne. His ancient face was unreadable, but something had changed behind his eyes, something that might have been hope. Word spread through the Marathi Empire like fire through dry grass. The human had done the impossible. He had brought a child back from the silence, not with medicine or technology or ancient rituals, but with tears and warmth and something the translators could only call love. In the days that followed, everything changed. Marathi citizens began appearing at the human section of the station. At first they came secretly, in small groups, asking questions about emotions. How did humans cry? How did they laugh? What did warmth feel like? Do-hyun and the other human diplomats answered as best they could. They demonstrated handshakes and hugs. They explained joy and sadness and fear and hope. Some Marathi walked away confused. Others walked away with tears in their eyes for the first time in their lives. Little Sari became something of a celebrity. She followed Do-hyun everywhere, holding his hand, asking endless questions about human customs. She wanted to know about everything: birthday parties, bedtime stories, stuffed animals, ice cream. Each new concept amazed her. "Humans give each other presents?" she asked one day. "Just because they care? Not because of duty or trade?" "That is right," Do-hyun said, smiling. "And they sleep with soft animals made of cloth? Even adults?" "Some of them, yes." Sari thought about this for a long time. "I want a soft animal," she decided. "A human soft animal. Can you make me one?" Do-hyun promised he would try. But not everyone was happy with the changes happening in the Empire. General Vorn was one of the most powerful military leaders in the Marathi hierarchy. He was old and fierce, with scars running across his silver face from battles fought before humanity even existed. He had watched the humans' success with growing anger. "This is contamination," he told his followers in secret meetings. "The humans are poisoning our people with their primitive emotions. They are making us weak. If we allow this to continue, the empire will fall." His followers agreed. They were soldiers and traditionalists who believed emotions were a disease that must be cut out before it spread. On the 7th day after Sari's recovery, General Vorn made his move. Do-hyun was in the princess's chambers when the alarm started. Red lights flashed. The station's voice announced a security emergency. "What is happening?" Do-hyun asked. Valina's face went pale. "Vorn. He has been planning something. My sources warned me, but I did not think he would act so soon." Before she could say more, the doors burst open. Marathi soldiers poured into the room, their weapons drawn. At their head stood General Vorn, his violet eyes burning with cold fury. "Princess Valina," he announced, "you are under arrest for treason against the Marathi Empire. You have allowed foreign influence to corrupt our sacred culture. You have endangered our way of life with emotional weakness." "This is madness," Valina said. "My father will never—" "Your father is contained." Vorn smiled cruelly. "My forces have secured the throne room. The Emperor is unharmed, but he is no longer in control. The Council has been convinced to support a change in leadership." He turned to look at Do-hyun. "And you, human. You are the source of this infection. You will be executed publicly as an example to any who might consider following your path." Guards grabbed Do-hyun's arms. Others seized Valina. They were dragged through the hallways toward the detention center. As they walked, Do-hyun saw chaos everywhere. Vorn's soldiers fought with loyalist forces. Marathi citizens ran in fear. The station that had been so ordered and cold was now filled with violence and uncertainty. They were thrown into separate cells. Do-hyun could hear Valina arguing with her guards, demanding to see her father. threatening consequences, but the guards ignored her. Hours passed. Do-hyun sat in the darkness of his cell, thinking about everything that had happened, about Valina and Sari and the countless Mirathi who had started learning to feel. Had he made things worse? Had his interference caused this civil war? A sound at his cell door made him look up. Lieutenant Hajin was standing there, along with Captain Yuna and, surprisingly, Advisor Korin. "We need to move fast," Hajin said. "Vorn is planning to execute you and the princess at dawn." Do-hyun stared at Korin. "You tried to have me killed when I first arrived. Why are you helping now?" Korin's old face was troubled. "Because I watched you save Siri. I watched you weep for a child you did not know. And I watched my people begin to wake up from a sleep we did not realize we were in." He paused. "I do not understand your human emotions. But I cannot deny that they are powerful. Perhaps more powerful than anything we have." They freed Do-hyun and made their way through the station's maintenance tunnels. Vorn's soldiers were everywhere, but Korin knew secret passages that had not been used in centuries. "The princess is being held in the throne room," Korin explained. "Vorn wants to execute her in front of the court. He believes it will send a message." "Then we need to get to the throne room," Do-hyun said. Hajin shook his head. "That is suicide. There are 100 soldiers guarding it." "I do not care." Do-hyun's voice was firm. "Valina risked everything for me. She believed in me when no one else did. I will not abandon her now." "And what will you do?" Yuna asked. "Fight 100 soldiers with your bare hands?" Do-hyun thought about all the lessons he had taught Valina, about warmth and courage and love, about standing up for what matters, even when you are afraid. "No," he said, "I will do something humans are very good at. I will be foolishly, impossibly brave. And I will hope that bravery means something." He turned to Korin. "Can you get me into the throne room? Just me, alone?" Korin studied him for a long moment. "You will die." "Maybe. But maybe dying for something you love is better than living as a coward." Do-hyun met the old advisor's eyes. "You said you do not understand human emotions. Let me show you what they look like in action." Korin was silent. Then slowly he nodded. "Very well, human. I will get you inside. And may whatever gods you believe in protect you." The throne room was packed with Mirathi nobles and soldiers. General Vorn stood at the center, his silver armor gleaming under the cold lights. Behind him, Princess Valina knelt with her hands bound, her crystal crown lying broken on the floor. "Today we cleanse our empire," Vorn announced to the crowd. "Today we cut out the weakness that has infected our royal family." The princess chose to embrace human emotions over Mirathi strength. She chose contamination over purity, and for that, she must pay the ultimate price. He drew his blade, a long sword that hummed with deadly energy. Valina did not beg. She did not plead. She simply looked at Vorn with quiet defiance in her violet eyes. "History will remember this day," Vorn continued. "The day we proved that the Mirathi Empire will never be weakened by—" "Stop!" The single word echoed through the throne room. Every head turned toward the source. Do-hyun walked through the crowd, unarmed and alone. His human clothes looked strange among all the silver armor. His brown eyes met Vorn's violet ones without fear. "Who let this creature in here?" Vorn demanded. The soldiers looked at each other in confusion. None of them knew, but it did not matter now. "Step aside, human," Vorn said. "This does not concern you." "It concerns me more than anyone." Do-hyun kept walking until he stood between Vorn and Valina. "You want to kill her because she learned to feel. You want to kill me because I taught her. You think emotions make people weak." "They do," Vorn said. "Look at you. You are small. You have no weapons." "You cannot possibly stop me," Yet here you are, throwing your life away for a female who is not even your species. That is weakness." Do-yun shook his head. "No, that is love." The word rippled through the crowd. Some Marathi looked confused. Others, the ones who had been learning from the humans, looked something else, something like hope. "Love," Do-yun continued, "is what makes humans strong, not our ships or our weapons or our technology. We are a small species from a small planet, but we have survived everything the universe has thrown at us. Wars, disasters, diseases, and we survived because we love each other, because we fight for each other, because we would rather die than abandon someone we care about." He turned to face the crowd, spreading his arms wide. "You call that weakness? I call it the most powerful force in the universe. I have seen your people suffering from the silence. I have seen them losing the will to live. And do you know why? Because they have forgotten how to feel. They have cut away their hearts, and now they are empty inside." Vorn's face twisted with anger. "Kill him!" But the soldiers hesitated. They looked at this small human standing fearlessly before 100 blades, and something in them stirred. "I am not asking you to become human," Do-hyun said to the crowd. "I am asking you to remember what you lost. The Marathi were not always cold. Somewhere in your history, your ancestors knew how to feel. They knew how to love and laugh and cry. You can find that again. It is not too late." "Enough!" Vorn raised his sword. "If no one else will do it, I will kill you myself!" He swung the blade toward Do-yun's neck, but before it could connect, a silver body threw itself between them. Velina had broken free of her guards. She stood in front of Do-yun, arms spread wide, shielding him with her own body. "If you want to kill him," she said, "you will have to kill me first." Vorn froze. Even he was not willing to murder the princess in front of the entire court. "You would die for this human?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. "Yes." Velina's voice was steady. "Because he showed me what it means to be alive. Because he taught me that feeling is not weakness. Because—" She paused, her violet eyes filling with tears. "Because I love him, and love is worth dying for." The throne room was absolutely silent. Then, from the back of the crowd came a sound no one expected. Footsteps, heavy and slow. Emperor Thalos walked through the parting crowd. His guards surrounded him, their weapons pointed at Vorn's soldiers. Somehow, the old emperor had escaped Vorn's confinement. "Father," Velina breathed. Thalos stopped beside his daughter and the human. His ancient eyes looked at Vorn with cold fury. "You tried to take my throne," Thalos said. "You tried to kill my only child. But worse than that, you tried to stop our people from healing." "Healing?" Vorn spat. "They are being infected." "They are waking up." Thalos cut him off. "I watched the humans save that child with nothing but tears and warmth. I watched my daughter cry for the first time in her life. And I felt something I had not felt in 400 years. He paused. "Hope." He raised his hand. His loyal soldiers moved forward, surrounding Vorn and his followers. "General Vorn, you are under arrest for treason. Your followers will be detained and tried. The human experiment will continue." Thalos looked at Do-yun. "This man walked into a room of enemies to save someone he loves. That is not weakness. That is courage. The kind of courage we have forgotten." Vorn was dragged away, shouting protests that no one listened to. When the chaos settled, Velina turned to Do-yun. Her violet eyes were shining with tears she now understood. "You came for me," she said. "You could have run away. You could have saved yourself." "I could have," Do-yun agreed. "But where I come from, we do not abandon the people we love." Velina reached up and touched his face. Her cool silver fingers traced his cheek, his jaw, his lips. "The first time was an accident," she said softly. This time I am asking. Do-yun smiled. Asking for what? You know what? He did know, and this time when their lips met, it was not an accident. It was a choice, a declaration, a promise between two beings from different worlds who had found something precious in each other. The court watched in wonder as the princess and the human kissed. Some looked shocked, others looked thoughtful. A few, the ones who had already started learning to feel, looked like they might cry themselves. Months later, the first Mirathi Human Cultural Center opened on the station. It was a beautiful building filled with warmth and color, nothing like the cold crystal structures the Mirathi usually built. At the opening ceremony, little Sari held Do-yun's hand. She wore a bright ribbon in her silver hair and carried a stuffed bear that he had made for her. "Uncle Do-hyun," she said, "why are you crying again?" Do-hyun wiped his eyes and smiled down at her. "Because I am happy, Sari. Sometimes humans cry when we are very, very happy." Valina stood beside him, their fingers intertwined. She had learned to cry too. She had learned many things about being alive. "This is a new beginning," she said to the assembled crowd, "for my people and for humanity. We have much to learn from each other, about strength and softness, about logic and feeling, about the power of reaching out and touching someone's heart." She looked at Do-hyun with so much love that even the most traditional Mirathi in the audience felt something stir inside them. "And it all started," she added, "with one clumsy human, one accidental kiss, and a whole lot of tears." The crowd laughed. It was an unfamiliar sound for the Mirathi. But like all new things, it grew easier with practice. And in the years that followed, as two civilizations learned to feel together, everyone remembered how it began, with a princess who touched her cheek in wonder, and a single, impossible request. "Do it once more."